Ananda Kari Vaishnava Vrinda Ramachandra Shri Ashtakur Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vasudeva All glory is to the Son of the All glory is to the Son of the All glory is to the Son of the All glory is to the Sri Guru Ganga. All glory is to the Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Kirani Måske du vil give for?
Nej, du sidder der. Jeg skal faktisk ikke op.
So we're reading today from Canto 4, chapter 29, talks between Narada and King Prajinvarti, text 18 to 20. Which chapter?
Which chapter?
You don't know which chapter yet?
I don't hear.
Oh, you should know. We've been starting earlier. 9:20. 18. So it's 4, 29, 18 to 20. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Neha
Rataha
Chu Indriya Ashvaha Samvatsaha Raya Akati Dvi Karma Chakra Tri Guna Vaja Pancha Asu Bandhura Manaha Rashmi Buddhi Sutta Rit Nita Tvanda Kubaraha Pancha Indriyata Prakshepa Shapta Dhatu Rutaka Akuti Vikrama Haya Mrigatrishnam Prathavati Ikadasa Indriya Chamu Pancha Shuna Vinoda Krit Deoratashtrindri Yashvaha Samvatsara Yogati Vikarma Chakrashri Guna Vajja Panchashu Bandhura Manorashmiya Buddhi Shrutto Rinnido Dvanda Kubara Atyendriyata Prakshepa Shaktadhatu Varutaka Akutir Vikramo Bhayu Mikra Trishnam Prathavati Ikadas Indriya Chamu Panchashuna Vinodakre Dehurachastvindri Ashva Samvatsara Yogati Vikarma Chakrastri Guna Vajja Panchashu Bandhura Manorashmiya Buddhi Sattadhatu varutaka.
Sattadhatu varutaka.
Akutir vikramo bhayo.
Akutir vikramo bhayo.
Mrika trishnam padavati.
Mriga trishnam pradavati.
Ekada sindriya chamu.
Ekada sendriya samu.
Panchasuna vinodakri.
Panchasuna vinodakrit. Dehoratasva indriyasva. Samvatsara yogati. Vikarma chakra triguna. Raja pancha subandura. Manorasmir buddhisuto. Vinnido Dandakubara. Chandriyata Prakshipa.
Sattadhatu varutaka.
Sattadhatu varutaka.
Akutir vikramo bhayo.
Akutir vikramo bhayo.
Padavati.
Jagatrishnam pradavati.
Ekada sindriya chamu.
Ekada sendriya chamu. Panchasuna vinodakrit. Dehoratasva indriyasva. Samvatsara yogati. Vikarma chakra triguna. Dvaja pancha subandura. Manorasmir buddhisuto. Rinnido dvandvakubara. Panchendriyartha prakshepa. Saptadhatu varutaka. Akutir vikramo bhayo. Mrigatrishnam pradavati. Ekada sendriya chamu. Panchasuna vinodakrit.
Deha, body, Ratha, chariot, two, pot, Indriya, the knowledge acquiring senses, Ashva, the horses, Samvatsara, total years, Raya, duration of life, Agati, without advancing, Dvi, two, Karma, activities, Chakra, wheels, Three, Guna, modes of nature, Vajra, flags, Pancha, five, Asu, life is, Bandura, bondage, Manaha, the mind, Rashmi, rope, Buddhi, intelligence, Sutta, chariot driver, Rit, heart, Nida, sitting place, Vanda, duality, Kubara, the post of harshness, Pancha, five, Indriyata, sense objects, Prakshipa, weapons, Satta, seven, Dhatu, elements, Varutaka, coverings, Akuti, attempts of the five working senses, Vikrama, prowess or processes, Bhaya, external. Mrigatishnam, false aspiration. Pradavati, runs after. Ikadasa, 11. Indriya, senses. Chamu, soldiers. Pancha, 5. Suna, envy. Vinoda, pleasure. Krit, doing. Translation. Narada Muni continued. What I referred to as the chariot was in actuality the body. The senses are the horses that pull that chariot, and time passes year after year. As time passes year after year, these horses run without obstruction, but in fact they make no progress. Pious and impious activities are the 2 wheels of the chariot. The 3 modes of material nature are the chariot's flags. The 5 types of life here constitute the living entity's bondage, and the mind is considered to be the rope. Intelligence is the chariot driver. The heart is the sitting place in the chariot, and the duality of life, such as pleasure and pain, are the nodding place. You have to go. The 7 elements are the coverings of the chariot, and the working senses are the 5 external processes. The 11 senses are the soldiers, being enclosed in sense enjoyment. The living entity seated on the chariot hankers after fulfillment of his false desires, and runs after sense enjoyment, life after life. Perfect. The entanglement of the living entity in sense enjoyment is very nicely explained in these verses. The word samvatsara, meaning the progress of time, is significant. What is significant?
Progress of time.
Process of time. What's it called in Sanskrit? Samvatsara. Day after day, week after week, fortnight after fortnight, month after month, year after year, the living entity becomes entangled in the chariot's progress. The chariot rests on 2 wheels, which are the pious and impious activities. The living entity attains a certain position in life in a particular type of body, according to his pious and impious activities. But his transmigrations into different bodies should not be taken as progress. Real progress is explained in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Chakva deham punajanma naiti. One makes real progress when he does not have to take on another body, on a material body. As stated in Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 1938. Ita Brahmanda Prari Ananta Jiva Gana Charashi Laksha Yunite Karaye Brahmana. The living entity is wandering throughout the entire universe and taking birth in different species on different planets. Thus he moves up and down, but that is not real progress. Real progress is getting out of this material world altogether. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avachimojana mam upecha tukonteya punar janmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attained to my abode, O son of Kunti, never take birth again. Even if one is promoted to Brahma Loka, the highest planet in the universe, he has to come down again to the lower planetary systems. Thus he is wandering up and down perpetually under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. Being illusioned, he thinks he is making progress. He is like an airplane encircling the earth day and night, incapable of leaving the earth's gravitational field. Factually, there is no progress because the airplane is conditioned by the earth's gravity. Just as a king is seated on a chariot, the living entity is seated in the body. The sitting place is the heart, and the living entity sits there and engages in the struggle of existence, which goes on without progress perpetually. In the words of Narottam Das Thakur, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Visharat Banda, Amrita Bhariya Yeva Kaya. Nana Yoni Shadha Priyapire Katharya Pakshana Kare Tara Janma Atha Pate Yaya. The living entity struggles very hard due to the influence of fruitive activity and mental speculation, and simply gets a different type of body, life after life. He eats all kinds of nonsense and is condemned by the activities of sense enjoyment. If one really wants to progress in life, he must give up the ways of karma kanda and jnana kanda, fruitive activities and mental speculation. Being fixed in Krishna consciousness, one can become free from the entanglement of birth and death, and the vain struggle for existence. In these verses, the words Mrika Trishnam Pradhavati are very significant, because the living entity is influenced by a thirst for sense enjoyment. He is like a deer that goes to the desert to search out water. In a desert, an animal simply searches in vain for water. Of course, there is no water in the desert, and the animal simply sacrifices his life in an attempt to find it. Everyone is planning for future happiness, thinking that somehow or other, if he can reach a certain point, he will be happy. In actuality, however, when he comes to that point, he sees that there is no happiness. He then plans to go further and further to another point. That is called Mrika Trishna, and its basis is sense enjoyment in this material world. Is that it? Mukham karoti vatalam bhangam langati krimya kripatamaham mande sri gurum dinasaranam vanchakalpa trupyascha tripasindhudevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dehoratastvindriya Shva Samvatsara Yogati Vikarma Chakrastri Guna Vatya Pancha Subhandura Manorasmi Buddhi Sutto Rinhido Dvanda Kubara Patindriyata Prakshipa Saptadhatu Varutaka Akutya Vikramo Bhayo Mrika Trishnam Pradhavati Ikata Sendriya Chamu Panchashuna Vinota Krit. Narada Muni continued, what I referred to as the chariot was in actuality the body. The senses are the horses that pull that chariot, and time passes year after year. These horses run without obstruction, but in fact they make no progress. Pious and impious activities are the two wheels of the chariot. The three modes of material nature are the chariot's flag. The 5 types of air constitute the living entity's bondage, and the mind is considered to be the rope. Intelligence is the chariot driver. The heart is the sitting place in the chariot, and the dualities of life, such as pleasure and pain, are the nodding place. The 7 elements are the coverings of the chariot, and the working senses are the 5 external processes. The 11 senses are the soldiers. Being engrossed in sense enjoyment, the living entity is seated on a chariot, hankers after fulfillment of his false desires, and runs after sense enjoyment, life after life. Very, very nectarian verse. Unfortunately, I knew I prepared. I could have gone back to the previous story of Prajnapathi and see all the details how it. We hear here that now Muni is explaining what he's referring to in that story. So it's very interesting. One can make a study like this. But the normal analogy we know is that the chariot is the body, and there's a person sitting in the body, the living entity. He is sitting in the riti, in the heart. And that is the sitting place. So that's where he's sitting in the chariot of the body, the leader. And then this is not mentioned here, right? The driver is the intelligent, and the mind is the reins. And you hear about the flags are the free modes of material nature. And the wheels, what were the wheels? Pious and impious activities. So all these things are there. And it's a beautiful analogy given by Narada Muni, telling us how we can detach ourselves from the body by seeing the stupidity of being attached to the body. So who will be attached? Okay, now people are attached to their cars, so maybe people are also attached to their chariots. But if you understand that really the chariot is decaying, and the body is getting older and older, and we are getting diseased, and all these things are there in small print in the contract. All these things are there. And we tend to forget. We tend to, it'll not happen to me. I've been speaking maybe lately about something about the Dhritarashtra, because I'm just studying that recently. And Vidura, he came back to the palace, preaching to Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra, because now he's really suffering, actually he suffered his whole life. Why was he suffering? Because he was constantly going against Dharma. So he was suffering his whole life. He was always in anxiety. Whenever you hear about Dhritarashtra, he's in anxiety, constantly. Because he's going against Dharma. And he knows that is the reason, but he can't change it. He can't stop up and say, hey, I'm suffering here. I'll continue to suffer as long as I'm attached to my body and to my position and to my son, because my son is sin personified. So I'll continue to suffer as long as I'm attached to these things. So in that sense, we can from our life, we can see also our attachment. We can see them. We can see they bring suffering, but still they're so difficult to give up. So what happened was that Vidura, he came, and being very, very empowered by the talk by the talk with Maitreya Muni, going to all the holy places, Vidura has only Shakti. And he comes back and he just tells Dhritarashtra, you're a fool. You have been blind from your very birth. You're getting old. You lost all your friends. You lost your father. You lost your brothers. You lost all your sons. What is left for you? You're hard of hearing now. You cannot digest your food anymore. Your liver is defective. You're coughing up mucus. You are losing your teeth. It's not there, but all these things are happening to the body.
You can have new teeth.
Huh?
You can have new teeth.
Yeah, but not your real ones.
No.
There's problems. See, this is there. Okay, we can make so many things in the material world, but then you have these problems. Right? Whenever you choose, something goes wrong, and it gives you so much pain. My brother, he actually got that. All his teeth are rotten. He's 3 years older than me. All his teeth are rotten, so they actually pulled most of them out. And then they made new ones, and it cost something like, what was it, 150,000? He didn't have to pay. Denmark paid. And then they put them in, and they gave him so much pain. He's not using them. He's not using them because he can't chew with them. And I remember with my grandfather, whenever he was eating, he took out his teeth. So what is the use that they're only for? It looks nice. It looks nice. But when you have to chew, it just gives you pain, gives you suffering. So all these things can be made, but Krishna made real teeth. They are working. Right? Okay, sometimes there's problem with them also, but that's only because we're not maintaining them properly. If you're living a good life, then disease is completely unnatural. Now I just had a cold recently. It's completely unnatural to be diseased. It's just because we're doing something wrong. We're doing something wrong in life. So if we know how to take care of our teeth, they will stay with us until when we get very old. And then anyway we don't need to chew anymore, because our digestion doesn't work anymore. So that's when life Yamaraj is sending all these letters saying now it's time to renounce, because we will not do on our own. So we get all these warnings. But until then we have very, very nice, this whole body is actually very nicely made. And if we use it in the right way, we are spared for all the pain. What else is verse in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, yoga, one who's regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, yukta haraviharascha, yuktas cheshas karmashu, yuktas svapnas bodhascha, yogam bhavati yugam. For one who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work, he can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system, by living a healthy life and living a regulated life, not being attached to all these things. See, this is really what makes life, what degrades us. You become attached to something material, like become too attached to sugar, we eat a lot of sugar, and that ruins our teeth. But if we live healthy, we will have our teeth for until we are very old. So then we don't need all these artificial things. But this is the world of artificiality. Like everything, now everything is made of plastic. You can buy everything in plastic. We hear about in Yudhishthira, when they were eating from silver and no gold plates actually. Golden plate, not golden, but gold plates, solid gold. And when they used them for the sacrifice, they used them once and threw them away. See, that's wealth. But today we also throw away, but that's plastic or paper. Right? So you sit there and eat from a paper plate, and we see it in the Sonnefeast. Everything goes on the floor, right? Because they're not really made for. And you eat with a plastic spoon. It's not the same experience, isn't it? We just get used to it, but eating with a plastic in your mouth, it's not nice. But if you eat with a nice silver spoon, that's nice. See, that's quality life. But now everything is artificial. Let's get back to this. So Vidura came back from this pilgrimage completely empowered by associating with great saintly persons. And then he just told Dhritarashtra, now you should give up this nonsense. Right? And he's telling all this, see, you are suffering. You've been suffering your whole life. I've been telling you this again and again. But now he's listening. And not only Dhritarashtra is listening, but actually the whole, all the relatives are coming. Immediately when Vidura comes back, everything comes there, running there, crying out of happiness to see Vidura again. Because they know he's such a saintly person. So everybody's mentioned that everybody's listening. He's speaking to Dhritarashtra, but because it's so nectarian, even though he's not speaking about the pastimes of Krishna, he's speaking about how this material world is a place of suffering. So we tend to say, this again, we hear it so often, right? But we don't want to hear. Why is we don't want to hear? Because we don't want to be reminded. Because we still think or hope that there's some little juice in this sugarcane of the material world. There might be something there. So when we're reminded, we say, hey, our mind revolts and say, no, I don't want to hear this. I can hear about Krishna dancing with the gopis. Why? Not because it was Krishna dancing with the gopis, but we think, it would be nice if I was dancing with the gopis. That's actually mostly the reason. That's why people see what's on television. They want to see what they're doing, all the rich people are doing, Beverly Hills, and what happens there. Because wow, that could be nice if I had so much more money I could do. So we need to hear about the material world. We need to hear. And Vidura is telling Dhritarashtra here, you are rotten in this material world. You are actually practically rotten. And we are also, at least our body. Our body is gradually rotting away. So Dhritarashtra, he understands. He said, okay, now it's time to leave. Vidura said, don't even tell anyone. You just go. Go in the middle of the night, don't tell anyone. Prabhupada mentioned in the purpose that the worst degradation in life is to stick to this material body to the end of life. No, to stick to family life to the end of life. That's the worst degradation. So for us that means to stick to the material enjoyment. We can stick to family life, but in family life, Krishna should be the only object of our attention. Especially when we get old. But Radharani said, it's now. It's now when we're 5 years old. This is where we should take spiritual life serious. Because that's where we have vitality. That's where we have strength. So when we are old, how much really can we endeavor? Kulakshetra, Maharaj is saying. Let me leave now. Now I'm clear. When I will die, my life airs will be so much in disarray and there will be so much disturbance going on. And I'll be so afraid because I'm just about to die. How can I think of Krishna? How can I think of Krishna in such a situation? Let me die now. So we should not pray to die now, but we should pray, Krishna, give me the understanding that really this material life is just suffering. The body is rotting away and I'm in this body. But I can quit this one time for all by taking seriously to Krishna consciousness. I can make even this life good. That's the only way, really. People think they can enjoy without Krishna, but it's not possible. So we might try to make a materialistic plan that I will enjoy in this way, but it's not possible. It's simply not possible. So we do really clearly explain that to Dhritarashtra. Give it up and leave. So he left and he took his wife, or actually he didn't take his wife with him, but she followed him and he accepted, but he just left. If she had stayed back, he still would have gone. And he went out and he quit his life, performing devotional service. Prabhupada speaks about that as two kinds of sannyasis, the dhiras and the narottamas. So Prabhupada mentioned he was a dhira, meaning he was still following the yoga process. He was not completely dedicating his activities to Krishna.
Prabhupada himself?
No, Dhritarashtra. Prabhupada explains that there's these two kinds. So Dhritarashtra, he was a dhira. Dhritarashtra was a dhira. But real devotees are narottams, best of all, best of humans, best of living beings, narottams. So best of living beings is one who sincerely takes to Krishna consciousness. So when we hear about this analogy, we should understand that this is what happened to us. This body, we are sitting in this machinery. Yantra arudhani maya. Ishvara param Krishna, Ishvara sarva bhutaram, Rite Sarjuna Chistati. Brahma yan sarva bhutani, Yantra arudhani maya. That Krishna is seated in our hearts. Ishvara sarva bhutaram, of all living entities. Rite Arjuna Chistati. Chistati is situated. So Krishna is also seated in this chariot, but he's not attached to it. And then the living entity is also sitting there. Ishvara Sarva Bhutaram, Rite Sakti. Brahmayan causes, Krishna is causing Brahmayan Sarva Bhutaram. Yantara Rudanamana. He's causing all the traveling, all the wanderings of the living entities. He's fulfilling our karma, so that we can wander around in this yantra, this machinery. And we've been doing that since time immemorial. Brahmanda Brahmate, Kona Bhakti. Brahmanda Brahmate, we've been wandering in so many different kinds of bodies, in so many different kinds of universes, trying to find out what is the goal of life. Trying to enjoy this yantra, this machinery. That is not made for enjoyment. That is made for the opposite. That is made for misery. So this is a yantra. So when we want to enjoy it, Krishna is saying, okay, here is machinery for enjoyment. But you don't always get the one you want. You get the one you deserve. So we want to enjoy in this way, and this way, and this way. And we make our life in that direction. I want to enjoy to eat, or I want to enjoy seeing beautiful girls, or for the opposite sex, I want to see the opposite sex. Then Krishna says, okay, you get a perfect body for that. You get a perfect yantra. You get a perfect machine. And then you're sitting in this machine and enjoying. But what is the real enjoyment? Like you can buy a machine, you can buy a car. And if you have lots of money, you can buy a Porsche or a Mercedes or a Lamborghini. What else? What is there? Ferrari. So many nice, expensive cars. Or if you don't have so much money, maybe still can buy a car, but you can maybe buy a Fiat or Skoda or what's it called this in India?
Ambassadors.
These cars. So you can buy such a car, but at least you can buy a car. So many cannot afford a car. So then they get a bicycle. Or some can even not afford a bicycle. So then they have to walk or take the bus. And even if they cannot afford the bus, they have to walk. So according to our previous desires, our previous activities, we get a certain kind of machine. And we are seated in this machine. But still we are doing the same craziness as we did before. Trying to enjoy this machine, no matter how bad it is. Dhritarashtra, he was blind, his liver was defective, he was diseased. He lost everything, but still he was holding on. Living in the palace, as eating the remnants of food of Bhima. So he was still trying to hold on. His life was finished practically. He was only suffering. He lost everything. So we try to enjoy these machines. Pradhana kalasha dharma sangrahi. Sarira esa pratipatite. Kriya phalatvena vipur vibhayate. Yatana lo dharsu tatpanatana. So according to, we get these machines, what are they built of? Pradhan, material nature. The modes, right? They're made out of the modes, as Prabhu was speaking yesterday. Everything in the material world is made out of the three modes. Everything. So these machines are also made out of nature, of the modes of nature. And according to our previous activities, we are in a certain mode. And then we like to enjoy certain things. Pradhana, kalasha, and due to time. Time is the whole element, the element that makes everything work. Actually, it's nice mentioning here pradhan, because pradhan is mahatattva without the element of time. There's no interaction of the modes of nature. Pradhana, kala, asha, and all our desires, kalasha and dharma, shangahi, and our occupational activities. All these, what do they create? Sarira, a body, and machinery. Sarira, esha, pradipatya. We obtain a body. Sarira is a pratipatya, chetanam. And according to how we use that body, we get a certain kind of consciousness, chetan. So we see there's living entities whose consciousness is very dormant because of previous sinful lives. Trees and plants, they do not have a capacity. They're like walking, you can say, to the previous analogy. And then we have animals, beasts, and birds, etc., insects. So they have a little better kind of body, where there's a little more consciousness, like maybe the ones taking the bicycle. And then there's living entities who are a little more consciousness. And then there's the demigods, who is the topmost. So if we really want to enjoy material life, that's where we should go. Human form is not life, we know it by projection, by realization, by direct experience, we know. This human form of life is actually not so good for enjoyment. Why? Because it's not created for it. It's created for tapasya. That's the whole thing. That's the difference. Prabhupada gives the example so often. What is the difference between the human and the animal? Human can understand, human can realize or philosophize. Understanding what is the meaning of life. Animals do not have that propensity. Trees do not have that propensities. The demigods do definitely have that propensities, but they have been given a body that is very, very suited for enjoyment. They're also suited for self-realization, but it's really made for enjoyment. It's like a Porsche or a Mercedes or a Lamborghini. So we get a certain, and then within, like all the human forms, all the species, there's some have more consciousness within that species of life. Some humans have more elevated consciousness, they're more in the mode of goodness. Again, according to the modes of nature. So they're more in the mode of goodness. And those who are very much in the mode of goodness, they have a great advancement. That they are in a peaceful composure, you can say, or they're peaceful. And they are intelligent. So then they can use that consciousness by kriya phalatvena vipur vibhayate. By kriya phalatvena, by using the activities and the phala and the fruits of the activities for the right purpose. What is the right purpose? Vibhur vibhayate, for manifesting the Lord, so the Lord becomes manifest. By using our activities in the right way, the Lord becomes manifest. So that is what the human form of life is all about. So we should really understand Narada Muni's beautiful descriptions here, that we have nothing to do with this material body. This whole material body, it's just, we have thousands of them, millions of them. We are pure spirit soul, sitting inside waiting when will I really enjoy. We are enjoyers. We just know how to enjoy, or we should know how to enjoy. Anandamaya Vyasa. Our nature is to enjoy. We are enjoyers. But we cannot enjoy this material body. We cannot enjoy a chariot. We cannot really enjoy a car. So that, to the end of our life, this should lead to detachment for everything material, but especially for the body. You just nothing to do. I want to jump around and play with Krishna. I want to experience a body Satchidananda. That's what I want. So then Krishna says, okay, here's the price. If you want a Porsche or Mercedes or Skoda or whatever on bicycle, you have to pay the price. So Krishna says, these are the prices for there's price tags there. So you just have to read the tag, see the price. Can I afford it? So most likely we cannot afford a demigod body. Maybe we can afford a human body. But we can always afford a spirit body, because that's what we are. But we just have to pay the price of showing Krishna our sincerity, of again coming back to that real consciousness. Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think only human body can pleasure with the Krishna. Is it demigods or human body?
Is it demigods?
Or human body can happy with the Krishna?
Yeah, actually, the body cannot be happy with Krishna. But as you said, in a human body, when our consciousness is developed, so for the animals and the trees and the plants, their consciousness is so covered by lust, actually, it's covered by lust. Amrita has this, that the living entity is covered by different degrees of lust. Like dust on a mirror, the embryo, smoke and fire, and the embryo in the womb. So there are different kind of coverings. But the living entity inside is the same. That the living entity is in quality the same. We are all pure spirit souls. But depending on the body we are in, we can use that body to understand Krishna. In trees, plants' bodies, it's practically impossible. In animals' bodies, it's practically impossible, with a few exceptions. And in human form of life, that's what it is specifically made for. And the demigod's form of life is also really what it's made for. But they often do it. Most of the demigods are devotees. They are kama misra bhaktis, they have material desires. So the disadvantage of the demigod body is it's so good for enjoying materially. It's like a Ferrari. So you go into your Ferrari, it's very difficult to be detached in there. It's very difficult to drive 50 in a Ferrari. Very difficult. You want to go 80 or you go 100 or you go 150, right? Because it's made for it. So the demigod body is made, just suited for enjoyment. It's just made for it. So then that makes it difficult. That makes it difficult to surrender fully to the Lord. So that's why the demigods, because they have realization, they're so intelligent. So they pray to take birth in the earth planet in a human form of life, so that they can actually be serious of their spiritual life. Because it's practically impossible. Queen Kunti is saying, Janmaiswaya Sutta Shivya, Edamana Madhapana, Naivaha Javadatum Vaitam Akintyana Dutya. For one who has a lot of janma, very good birth, Aishwarya, a lot of opulence, a lot of money, or shuddhi, or shripi, beauty, or education. For such a person, he's become like maddened by these things. So then it's very, very difficult to fully cry out to Krishna, fully take to the process of devotional service. So that's why we are very, very fortunate. First thing is, we've been given a human form. That's our great fortune. That's 8,400,000 species of life. Out of those 400,000 are humans. So it's very rare just to be a human being. And then we are in the category of human beings who are somewhat in the mode of goodness, I think we speak for all of us. And we have a developed consciousness. So the only thing that is lacking is really our desire to use it to the fullest capacity. That's the only thing missing. That we have our free will, and in our stupor, in our stupidity, we choose not to use it in the wrong way. That's really the stupidity. We have everything. It's like somebody comes and gives you like $1 billion, and you go and you use it for making the fire in the fireplace. So we've been given a machinery that is perfectly suited for self-realization. And by Prabhupada's mercy, we've been given all the knowledge now. We have everything. But still often we just tend to go to enjoyment. So-called enjoyment. That is stupid. That is really stupid. So we really need to be serious and show Krishna, okay, I understand this. I want to live like this. I want to follow the instructions. This was Arjuna's realization in the end of Bhagavad Gita. Karishi Vachamantaram. Now I have Nashtamoha Smiti Laptaram. Now we have destroyed the illusion. You just Nashtamoha Smiti Laptaram. And by your mercy I have regained my memory. Stito Asmi Satakadasanteha. And now I'm rightly situated. Meaning now I can actually see in the right, not like the Dhritarashtra is blind. So Krishna gave him back his eyes, but he didn't use them properly. So Krishna has given us eyes, Prabhupada has given us eyes. So we should come to the same conclusion as Arjuna did, Kaishi Vacharantara. Now just follow the instructions. Understand the instructions, read the instructions, follow the instructions. Make it our goal of life. Because life is very short and very flickering. It is short in the sense that we live max 100 years, which is very, very short. And it is flickering in the way that we don't even know it. Most people do not get 100 years. Many people die before they are 50. That's not unusual.